Hay is an important thing for us in the wintertime. It keeps the cows happy, healthy, and frankly, it helps get them back to some of the weight that they need to be that they lost during the summertime when they're supporting a calf and gestating at the same time. Hello from the Hashknife. Today, we're going to be doing hay testing. If you recall, or you've seen some of our videos in the past, we had an issue with a cow aborting right before calving season. It was about February of 2024. This year, we're going to preemptively test our hay. We did so then because we thought there might have been an issue with our feed, so we kind of changed up. We went to all grass bales instead of our alfalfa. This time, we're going to preemptively do that. I have 6 samples I got to get today. Dad's in town getting things done, so we're splitting up duties. I'm going to be out here getting some samples. It's going to take me a while. I'm going to do the easiest one first. We just fed this morning, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out here and I'm going to pick up some of the alfalfa that is on the ground already and busted up by the girls. I'm just going to grab a good handful here or there, throw it in the sample, and then we're going to send it off to the lab. I'm going to go back to the ranch where the hay yard is, and I'm going to pull samples from specified locations. There are randomized bales, just as our analytics individual wants us to do, but they're going to be in an area so that I have it marked off and highlighted on a spreadsheet so I know exactly where to go, what to do, and then we'll use that for our samples and our inputs and outputs, so to speak, from our lab so that we understand how our forage and everything looks like. We do have one sample that's a 2023 sample. It's a smaller load, so we've got that separate from the others. Everything else is harvested this year in 2024. So what we're going to do right before Christmas time is get this all set up, send it out, and hopefully we'll have it back around the new year, and then we kind of know what's going on. Instead of reacting like we did last year, where we had to do it about 3 weeks and figure out what's going on and do something that way, this way we understand what our forage is and everything like that. And now that we've already started doing it, we're just going to start doing this as a new yearly process. That way we have from our producer, and he can get some feedback from us if he ever wants. We have an average of what our protein levels are and our forage quality is overall. So this is actually going to be a beneficial thing. Moving on, a little bit of improvement for us on our part. And here we go. Join me while we do this for the rest of the day.
I have taken liberties to kind of make a quick map of all of our samples that are labeled there. Sample 23 for last year's hay, and then the 5 different loads from this year's. On the right is the instructions for the analytics guy telling us what to do and how to get the sample. So this is kind of my plan, and then once we get the report back, I'll show you. That's what it'll look like so that we kind of have a good idea of what our averages are and what our different sections look like. But that will be in probably 3-4 weeks once we get all the information back.
I came out here on the 4-wheeler, so I brought a backpack just so I could put the tripod, some of the recording stuff, and then of course my sample bag. So there's my microphone case, but I've got all the sample bags right here. I'll show you. They're all labeled already. That way we have it all figured out. There's gonna be last year's, but this stuff that we are feeding is actually our last load. So that's gonna be 24-5. So hay year 24, sample 5. I'm gonna take this, we're gonna grab some hay off the ground and put it in here. These girls are all kind of curious. Let's take a moment to enjoy that scenery. Goodness gracious, what a beautiful shot that is today. The big snowy mountains. And over there's the beautiful Crazies. That's my personal favorite mountain range. So the Crazies, the big snowy mountains. Goodness gracious, I love this stuff. Early day, so the sun's out. You can't get much better. It's kind of calm, actually, surprising too. Like I said, I'm gonna run over here and steal some hay. There's our favorite cow ears. Let's get a shot here. Hi, baby. I don't have treats. No, I'm sorry. I don't have treats. I didn't bring them. You could have had some this morning anyway, so grab some in the middle. That's gonna be plenty for him, frankly. You've been eating. Hi, girl. How are you? How is everybody? Are you teaching them that they need goodies? You don't need to be teaching them that. Alright, so that's our easiest sample right there. That's good. Maybe high 127. Those are clean. I don't have anything gross. All right, have a good day, girls. Goofies. Our current feeding assortment right now is 1 round bale of grass hay, and then we do 2 squares of alfalfa. So what we are doing, there's a second square, kind of got spread out today. What we do right now is 2 alfalfa, 1 grass. So we've never had issues with the grass. We really don't have any concerns over it. Really, we're more worried about potential nitrates and stuff being too high for the alfalfa. So that's why we're going to do the alfalfa. Like I said, look at those beautiful mountains. Woo! Love this. Back to my steed. We're going to jump on this thing, put this in the backpack, and then go get the other sample. So, all right, first sample is done. Just a special spot there. All right, now we're going to put the tripod back in the backpack, load up, and go do the hard samples now. We are back at the hay yard, and what you'll notice here is look at the side of this bale. This is an older bale. It was protected fine under some tarps and stuff, but this is a newer bale. So you can look at the difference between this and this. It's just a little bit weathered. So this is our older 2023 batch, which I will pull a sample off of. However, this is the haystack. So I have 4 locations, because remember, I have already taken one from the newer stuff on this end. So I'm going to kind of count out the bales, get a good understanding of where I should get a randomized selection. So if we look here real quick, we'll see we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, we have 18 bales across here. So I'll probably go every 4-ish. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll do somewhere in the middle here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere in here. And then go another 4 to somewhere in here. And then finish it out with 1 more right in this area. And that will get my sample. I'll show you what I'm going to do to obtain a sample for the old hay. And then I'll just apply that to the others and show you the end result afterwards. Again, I know this is my old hay, my 2023 hay right here. So if you saw us last year we used an old dehorning tool that we just still have. Nobody ever got rid of it. We used to run Hereford cattle a long time ago, way before I even existed. So the dehorning tool was here. We used it to kind of create a sampler. We kind of jury-rigged this together, and it's just a nice little, I think about 1.5 inch pipe. And then we burred the ends there, sharpened them up a little bit. So we actually tested it here, and I don't like going in here because you can see the flakes. It'll actually miss the hay for the most part. If I need to, I will kind of scrape out of this side. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in from the end and come straight into it like this to kind of do a cross section. But more or less, I'm going to show you here because it's easier for the view. We'll start it here. It's obviously kind of set like a saw. So we have this little hole that we drilled with a handle, so I can kind of screw it in and put it in just so that both hands are there. And then I can kind of twist back and forth and go slow. And then I'm not going to go all the way here, but go probably up to here and then extract it. And then there should be, hay in here that I can kind of pull out with my knife. If that does not work, what I will do is I'll set it on here, and I brought my handy sledgehammer. We'll just hit it in there, get a core sample, and then pull it out. What I retrieve out of the middle of this bale, I'm going to throw into the sample bag, and that will go in. It's already labeled. All the labeled samples will be put into a box and sent off to the lab. So now I'm going to show you the progress on this bale before I get to the end result after all of it. I'm going to spare you the details, making you see everything I'm doing. Not a lot of room, but it helps me get leverage, which is nice. There we go. See if this works. I'm curious. Yeah, it doesn't work that great, surprisingly. Just gotta twist. Really want to cut through that. That's the big thing. Trying to cut through it rather than just tear it. Okay, let's try that. It's only halfway. Okay, there's some of it. Let's see what we can get out of here. Alright, so that got me a little, very little. But it's my start. So we're going to use this, build it up a little bit. Once I feel like I have a sufficient amount, put it in the bag and move on to the next sample. I have, I think, enough build up here for the 23 that that will work. So I'm going to save that. Got it nice and sealed. To an extent, it's not a super precise science here, but to an extent I want to kind of sterilize the instruments and stuff for the next sample. So I do have some chunks in here. Take that off. Make sure it's as clean as possible. Like I said, I recognize it's just hay. I did have to kind of drill to this point. Then I kind of went back in the same spot, but then angled it a little bit to try and get more purchase on new hay. And then I got down to here and then kind of up to here and just getting chunks at a time of hay about that big. Pulling it out, putting it in the sack. It's very time consuming, unfortunately. It's not something that this just takes 5 minutes. It definitely takes me, you know, that probably took me 10 minutes for the bale. I punched here. I did end up going into the flakes a little bit, trying to get some sort of purchase on the side. This is not great. If we had some sort of like perfectly sharp instrument that just would drill in, pull out our sample and come back and dump it, that'd be fantastic, but we don't. We only do this really once a year, so this is our second sample. I now have 4 more to go on the rest of the haystack, and then we will box it up. So I'll show you the after product as soon as I'm done and we have it all packaged and ready to go. Everything is pulled out. So that first set that I showed you, 2023 set from the old hay that was covered with tarps, but just a little bit older. We picked it up this year with this 2024 harvest. Those are all the samples I just got out of the hay yard. And then, of course, the 5th sample that I picked up in front of the cows earlier. And that's it. Now we're going to box it up and ship it off to our lab up in Chinook and then get our results and record them accordingly. With all the samples collected, I put everything in order so that when he sees the samples, they are in the exact same order as the request sheet, putting every sample in there. We're going to ask for 2 separate tests. So one for last year's hay, the 23 sample, and then an average across the 5 samples for 2024. Now we're off to the post office and send this to Chinook. And fast forward a couple weeks and we're here. We ended up getting an actual hay probe because the lab contacted us, gave us our results and said, hey, thanks for your information. Here's what the results came out. But because there wasn't a lot of like leafy greens and it was mostly stem, I don't feel consistently accurate, and I can't in good faith give you these numbers in terms of like any assurances. If you're willing to do this again and resubmit the samples, I'll do it no charge. So we're saying, okay, that's cool. We'll probably still throw him some extra money because he's being a decent human being. But we went out and spent a little bit of money to get a decent hay probe. This has a cap on it. It is serrated, so I'll take it off. And all it is it's a drill. That's what it does. So if I hold this up, we'll drill into the bale. I have a little plunger here, plunge it out, and it captures in here, and then I can put it into my sample bags. So I know where the spots are, I know the bales are. I'm not going to go directly back into the hole that I already created before. I'll go off to the side here. I'll try it. We left some bales from the older stuff because it's all fed off except for 2. But what we are going to end up doing is we're going to keep those, just the information, so that's kind of helpful for us because it is a year old hay bale that the producer did give to us and say, hey, it's a year older. It was exposed out in the elements. It was covered in terms of like a shelter over the top and not on the sides. So more or less just for, I don't know, our personal edification, we're going to get those numbers in as well. So Got 6 samples, just like before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then year 23 over there, that 6th sample. We're gonna collect all this stuff and resubmit to the lab. This is already so much easier. It's not even funny. Okay. Oh yeah, that definitely worked. Let's turn this a little bit. Okay. Then we'll plunge it. Oh yeah. Okay. It wasn't nearly as much as I thought it would be, but it's still way easier than how I did it before, that's for sure. So I'm gonna reset it in there. Looks like we got another good sample here. Oh yeah, there we go. It's nice and firm, so that looks good. All right, set that there. Okay, that's a pretty good sample. We'll do another one over here now, on the other side of the original hole. Okay, let's see how that does. It says you should only go 6 to 10 inches and then remove the probe and reinsert like I did the first one. That one I just did obviously one single probe, so I'm curious to see how the output is different maybe. Oh yeah, that was way better actually. That looks so much better. You saw my samples before and this is what I got just now. So like you can kind of see it's flaked. It's like definitely like an actual core sample. That looks way better. We are definitely going to use that. Oh, there's my headlamp when I'm feeding in the dark. All right. So 24-1 is what I need. That makes this so much easier, faster, easier on the hands. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I might do, because I did leave a little bit more, but I might do one more long punch like that. Let me do one more long punch and let's see what happens real quick. Pull out the probe. It's like a musket. Ready, arms? The other thing too is I'm not trying to like hurry through it. I want to cut and make a sample. So if you hurry through it, you're not going to get as much. So I'm really just trying to ease forward. High RPM, low push. All right, let's see. All right, so let's see if I can try and show this to the camera real quick. I'm going to turn. There we go. All right, pretty good set for the camera. Now again, I'm just going to insert this, more or less this plunger down the center. Okay, there we go. Got it set. And I'm just going to push, push, push. It should be coming soon. There we go. Look at that. See how it's like an actual core sample right there? That's beautiful. That really is beautiful right there. All right. So yeah, we're going to use that again. Ooh, and this is warm. Yeah, that's really warm. So, okay, we'll get these samples all figured out and sent into the lab for resubmission. Wow, that's definitely worth it. Sometimes, you know, we're like, oh, is it worth the money? If you're needing to do this, even though it's one time a year, I'm gonna tell you it's worth the money. Definitely worth it. With that resubmission of our samples to North Border Analytics, we're really trusting this guy. He's helped us out a lot, and he's been really good about making sure that we get the right stuff. He was just not quite sure that he had the right numbers and that they were accurate, and so we resubmitted, no charge, and he verified that the numbers were in fact accurate. And that was just based off of the samples not having a lot of leaves. It was very stemmy, so he wanted to make sure it was a good sample. Thankfully, we got it back in a pretty timely manner in about a week. And so we're really looking at two things here: crude protein percentage and then our relative feed quality. This is the 2023, the older hay that we got in this year for 2024 going into 2025. And then this is the newer hay that was grown and reaped and everything this year and brought in. Again, crude protein and the feed quality. And this was all put into an Excel sheet on the left-hand side right here. This is from last year. And on the right hand side, this is from this year. In a previous video from, I think it was 2024, February to March, somewhere in there, this was an issue with a cow that she had aborted. So we were concerned about hay. We sent in some samples and we got back our numbers. At that time, our protein was 17, almost 9, and our feed quality was almost 151. Our target number here is between 15% and 22%, with feed quality index between 100 and 200. Now, looking at this year, we have 15.4 and 118. So we are a little lower than we were last year, but we are still within the numbers and the target range, thankfully. When it comes down to understanding why this is lower than that, we really think that it's based off of, frankly, a drought year. The year before was a fantastic growing year. We talked about that. It was really luscious. It got us to really recover on a lot of our land and a lot of the crops around us. But this year was a drought again, and it was very bad with moisture. And we were behind, I think, about 4 inches this year at the end of the calendar year. And that's what we really think is probably happening here. 2023 was just degradation over time. It's been sitting there for a year, and he said it's still good hay. It's just, older. And that's what happens. If it's not used up, the more and more it gets degraded. 2024 obviously was a composite of all the 5 samples I gave. So I'm not going to put in the exact same number multiple times, but that's roughly the numbers. We're within our targets. We'd obviously like to see higher protein because it does help, especially in the super cold streaks of weather that we get. But other than that, everything looks good and nothing concerning for nitrates. And we're all set for calving in about 6 weeks. So until then, thanks until you're better paid.